Thank you everyone for inviting me to talk here today about analytical data storage at Pinterest. Uh, my name is Kapil. I am an engineering manager at Pinterest, and my team basically provide analytical data storage for the entire company. So I'm going to talk about some of the options we provide and use within Pinterest. So as you all know, articles data is of different types. We classify internally some metrics or some data as operational metrics and some as business or product metrics. For operational metrics, which is more about service health, things like performance, CPU, like usage of a service, we rely on a in-house storage which we created, which is called Goku. Today, I'm going to talk more about product and business metric examples. Some of the examples are listed here. So we internally use uh, these metrics for our experimentation tooling, for analysis of our experiments, for analyzing our growth, our products, our pins and video options which we provide. We also provide options to our ads partners who are internal teams, or our external partners who are advertisers or creators on Pinterest, on the insights on how their pins are doing. And then we also use these tools for doing authentication analysis or spam analysis to see, basically, to just evaluate any security threat or see how the data quality has been going. So for all these kind of use cases, we have over the years used different options, and I'm going to just go through some of them today. So yeah, at the very beginning, let's start from the early beginning of these storage options. So Pinterest early on was a very heavy HBase user. Some of our early engineers were very comfortable with it, and that led us to use HBase in almost every scenario. And that was not different for analytical use cases as well. So when the time came to start adopting a use case for analyzing data, we just used HBase. It was easy for us. The onboarding was easy and it did the job. So I would say early on it helped us move and start very quickly. But as the time progressed, we started seeing issues of scale over time. As we all know, HBase is not suited for analytical data. So first thing, we needed to do pre-computation for every scenario. So any new use case or even a small change in existing use case needed us to plan a bit more, store a bit more data. Also, over time, it became slow and it would time out frequently. Again, scanning a large amount of data or grouping was not HBase's forte. So over time, we saw that we could not execute a lot of queries. We could not support real-time aggregation. We could not slice and dice data. So what ended up happening was that our application teams were doing a lot of heavy lifting, which was not ideal. And over time, they just realized that okay, we had to move on. Also, we started seeing issues with reliability in itself. Like we were seeing hot region servers, hot charts. Again, it is expected as HBase was not suited for it. So we started looking at options out there in the industry at that point, and we stumbled across Druid. Uh, we analyzed, I would say, a few other systems, but Druid stood out to us. And in our early evaluation, we were very happy with it. We, in fact, unlocked slicing and dicing in real time for the first time. So that was very exciting for us. It was much lower in cost, again, because we did not had to pre-compute and store a lot of data. Uh, like pre-compute and store the data early on. So that led to an increased reliability and of our systems, of our offerings. So both internal and external customers were happy. In fact, we were able to support real-time feedback loop for our advertisers for the first time using Druid. So we started onboarding more and more Druid, and that became our primary analytical option. But as all good things come to an end, over time we realized that Druid might not be providing us what we need uh, now. For example, it did not support MySQL, joins, subqueries, and materialized views at that point. In fact, when we started thinking about shortcomings of Druid, they started releasing, I believe, MySQL support, but we were not using it. Also, I think it was limited at that point. Not sure now. It also, we realized, was costlier than the new options which are there in the industry. So Druid was great when it started, but over time, I would say a lot of new options came up which we hadn't realized, and we realized that it might be not the best option for us. And there were external dependencies like for our ingestion layer, we had to use Hadoop jobs, so we could not just do native ingestion easily. Uh, but one thing I do want to call out is at that point, all of these were smaller issues for us. Druid was working fine for us. The biggest issue we found with Druid was that over time, in order to meet Pinterest scale, we had added a lot of add-ons on Druid internally. Like we added things like Bloom filter, indexing, etc. But we found a bit harder to open source those options. I'm not sure why, but uh, that was our biggest concern, that we didn't know how we would be able to scale it further without using the latest version. So that led us to think about newer options and see what is out there. So here is a like a table which we actually used in our evaluation. I have not put all the options which we evaluated, but I just wanted to give an idea of what we did. So some of these are a bit different than others. Like Presto is, we just evaluated just to see how Presto would work for our use case. Pinot and Druid, I would say, are similar in terms of how long they have been in the industry, whereas StarRocks, ClickHouse, and Rockset, I treated them as a newer option. Again, I might be wrong, but that's how I tried to look at them. So if you see like the newer versions like StarRocks, ClickHouse, or Rockset, newer options stood out very clearly than the others. Um they provided SQL interface, join support, columnar storage, and even amongst the newer use case for us, StarRocks stood out. There are few reasons for that. For example, for ClickHouse, while talking with others in the industry, we were told that join support is not as performant. We investigated a bit more and then eventually decided that okay, StarRocks might be better for us for that. And then for Rockset, one of the reasons we found we could not use it was because they didn't provide us an open source version, and we wanted to not use the enterprise version. And I believe Rockset was later acquired by OpenAI. So yeah, StarRocks for us was the clear winner in our theoretical evaluation, and we decided to move further along the way. So yeah, so the first step was to do a POC with StarRocks, and that's what we did. We found very promising results with the early queries we ran. Here are some of the results I am sharing. So we saw 50% query speed up and 77% cost reduction with the first use case which we launched. In our testing, we were able to handle 40,000 plus tables in a single cluster. Of course, enabling use cases which were not possible before because of lack of joins or subqueries was a big win for us, because uh, after adopting or even trying StarRocks, we realized how big of a deal this was for our internal data science users, that they were able to run MySQL queries directly on our system. In fact, I would say after that, there was a lot more interest, and they were happy that they could try ad hoc queries and see whether this is what they want to try on as a product or not. So if they have an idea, they can clearly try it on as an ad hoc query and then see whether they want to move forward. And in some cases, we did see a big improvement in latency versus Druid for us. So that was a big plus positive point for us. So as we saw good results, we started integrating StarRocks within Pinterest. Here is how we use StarRocks. As we all know, it has a backend and a front end layer. We use Envoy as a SQL load balancer, and then we have an internal stateless service called Archimage between our users, internal teams, and StarRocks. We have added Archimage even while we were using Druid. It allows us to control a lot of data flow. It allows us to do a lot more authentication and authorization, provide a bit more privacy control, we actually started doing SQL conversion from Druid to StarRocks without user interruption in it, and we added a bit more connection benefits, connection pooling, etc. on Archimate. So that's how we use that service. Other than that, users can directly use Archimate for reads and writes, or they can use Querybook for ad hoc queries and ingest data directly on StarRocks. So that's how we currently use it internally. Uh, Now I'll talk about a few examples which we eventually started launching via StarRocks. So this is a big one. We have our internal data analytics dashboard, which is called Pinalytics. It is used to show all the business metrics like growth metrics, how Pinterest is performing over months or quarters. So it is very heavily used by our leadership as well as our internal engineering teams and growth teams. So originally, Pinalytics was in HBase, as all our systems were. So we started to think about moving it to Druid while we were evaluating StarRocks. Our POC turned out very well, but when the actual migration was done, we saw some scaling issues with Druid, and there were some huge blockers. And we realized that even though we would be able to overcome those blockers by some hacky ways, the runway for growth would be limited. Since we were already evaluating StarRocks and having good results with it, we decided why not try it on. And luckily, StarRocks worked very well for us. We found even better latency and performance, and we were able to launch Pinalytics on StarRocks in 2024. This is another example I wanted to highlight because this shows the benefit we found with StarRocks versus other systems. So this was an idea from our data science team where they wanted to see how ratios of different metrics would be able to give data to our internal teams to do more analysis and come to more conclusion using that. But there was no way to prove whether it will work or not work without actually trying it, and there was no strong push for it internally to create pre-compute jobs. But we had StarRocks as an option, and we proposed why not try raw metrics on StarRocks with real-time computation. With our scale, it has always been issues in the other systems, but we found StarRocks to be extremely fast. In fact, in some cases, it was 15 times faster than other options. Uh, and with that, we were able to provide users a peek into ratio metrics, and we were able to avoid complicated data pipelines, bringing down the development days to a few days only. Eventually, it became very well used, and now it is something where we had to apply pre-compute jobs while storing data on StarRocks because the usage has grown a lot more. So we had an idea. We were able to try it out instantly on StarRocks and prove it will work. These are some future migrations which we'll be doing very soon. So I would just highlight two of them. We are doing a lot more. Number one, ad supporting. So ad supporting is, as the name suggests, is used to provide reporting data for our advertisers. And just for historical context, it is one of the biggest and the earliest cluster on Druid. In fact, we did Druid evaluation using that. So it was a big deal to move it eventually to StarRocks. And the biggest benefit we found was that StarRocks, since it supported joins, allowed users of ad supporting to do joins directly on storage, since they heavily relied on that feature rather than doing it on the application layer. So it simplified our pipeline a lot, helped us make it a much simpler pipeline overall. And then again, StarRocks supports updates, so that allows us to do updates directly without storing two copies and doing some hacky solution overall. So this would be going into production soon, hopefully like this month. And then for spam events, so we had an internal storage where we were storing all the spam events, and that was reaching its limit in terms of scale. So we again tried on StarRocks, and we saw 50% reduction in latency, which was huge for us. And then again, this will be going into production soon, and we would be looking at more options from the same spam events use case just because of the speed we can provide with StarRocks. So they have a lot more smaller and bigger use cases. Our eventual goal is to completely migrate Druid off and move to StarRocks. And our goal is to do this hopefully by early 2027 or end of 2026. While working with StarRocks team, we also try to give back or add features, at least internally, which we needed. So we added a bunch of things like backup and restore for shared data mode. We added resource isolation, which was a huge deal for the ads reporting use case. We added multiple replication support. We looked at cache, warm up, speed up. We had to do a few things related to AFCAC and privacy. So over time, we have added a few things internally. Some of those we would try to open source soon if we can. But our goal is to be a, a contributor to StarRocks rather than just a user. So we do want to contribute a lot more to the open source version as we continue to use it. I would also say there were some learnings. It was not entirely smooth. The biggest call out is that we had built a lot of institutional knowledge on Druid over the years. We were not using any external support with Druid, so we were very comfortable with it. Uh, After adopting StarRocks, we had to rebuild or relearn a lot of things, which is always learning, and some of those things come out in production scenarios. So we do have to rebuild this knowledge, and we are continuously doing that. I would say we are a lot more comfortable now because of the time we have spent, but we still continue to learn about StarRocks and its usage. Also, maturity. Our Druid option internally had become a lot more mature over the years. We knew its scale, we knew its limitations, and we had launched a lot of big use cases on it. With StarRocks initial launches, we had to do a lot of debugging and testing as we adopted it, as we learned it, and as we continue to understand its limitations. So we did have a lot of learning through these launches. Yeah, I think that's all from my end, and I do want to give a huge shout out to the seller data team for supporting us for all the launches I shared. They have been a great partner to us, and thank you for their support.
Thank you so much for sharing that story today. Now I'd like to open it up to Q&A from our audience. We've actually got quite a few questions, which is really fantastic to see. So I'm going to go through them. I know we've got limited time here, so we'll see what we can get to. So the first question we have is SQL translation from Druid to StarRocks open sourced?
No, we have not open sourced it. That could be a good idea. I can write it down and maybe promote it internally. We do want to. We are always looking for ways to put code in the open source industry, like outside the world. So yeah, we'll be very happy to do it. I can just note it down and see if we can do it soon.
Okay. And then also, what is the migration strategy to move data from Druid to StarRocks? Was a question that got asked.
So for us, like since Druid and StarRocks are a bit different in terms of the way data is stored and even the way the query is made, we treat it as just a new launch, and we do our strategy. I will tell end-to-end strategy. We first start with, let's say, a small POC and make sure that all the features we are able to meet all the feature requirement, which we usually are. uh, Once we have nailed that down, we just do a actual data migration. So we have to do data translation and migration to StarRocks. We internally built a tool to migrate data easily, and we are testing it with a few of our launches. In fact, we recently did a cluster migration, data migration, and we found some shortcomings in it. So we are improving that tool. Once data is loaded, we have to basically do our load testing, correctness testing, get our users to validate it, and do a dark testing at the end.
And are you running BE on CN for shared data architecture?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The question was, are you running BN on CN for shared
Our,
data architecture?
I believe our compute nodes are different than our backend nodes, but I can also confirm. It depends on the use case, to be very honest.
Okay. Not sure if you're allowed to share this, but on average, how many front ends and back end CNs are you running on a production environment?
I have to check to be. I don't know how much I can share, but also I have to check. So maybe I can get back to you and give you the numbers if I can share that.
Did you find any limitations when working with StarRocks from a product perspective?
I would say so far we have been very happy with the features. There's been no limitation as such which we can't resolve. I would call out that we did find scale issues, but we were able to work with Sarita team to resolve those issues so far. But it's not that we were able to just onboard data and it worked. We did find scale issues. We did see that, in fact, for ad supporting, shared nothing more did not work for us. So we had to move to shared. Early on, we were trying shared nothing mode, and the data set was huge. So we had to move to shared data mode. So, and with shared data mode, latency sometimes gets impacted, so we do hit limits sometimes, but so far we were able to resolve the issues and launch it to an acceptable SLA level.
That's great. And then is it custom code that you wrote for data translation from Druid data to StarRocks data?
Yes, we just our Druid version was very old, as in we were not using the latest version. It was at least 4 to 5 versions behind. So everything we used internally, Druid at this point is becoming more and more custom, and we wrote the translation layer ourselves. We might have used help from Sarita team, so they're very helpful in those cases. So we might have, but most of the things we have to write ourselves.
Very cool. Have you considered moving to using Iceberg rather than storing data in StarRocks?
We do use Iceberg for some of our cases. I'm assuming you. So for some cases, latency sensitivity would allow make us use StarRocks more. So we have both the options internally, and it depends on the use case and the. It's a question of cost, performance, ROI, and the time needed to launch it. Basically, you have to look at it together.
All right. Oh, sounds good. Well, we're coming up on time. I don't see any more questions coming in right now. So, giving people a chance to get to the next session, I just want to thank you again, Kapil, for presenting. This has been really insightful, really fantastic. I learned a lot today. I'm sure the audience has as well. So thank you for presenting today. And for everybody else, thanks for joining. Don't forget to complete the poll question for this session. And feel free to scan the QR code to join the StarRocks community if you haven't already. The next session should be starting very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.